Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last speech from the Honourable Tau Henare finished with a quote from Martin Luther King. And I just want to make a few more quotes from Martin Luther King that will assist the members of this House. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "A right delayed is a right denied." Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed." That's right. Following on from the good work of Tau Henare, I think one of the quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. that actually relates to Mr. Tau Henare and is also important as well. "I am not interested in power for power's sake, but I'm interested in power that is moral, that is right, and that is good." Because that is who the member, Mr. Tau Henare, is, that is leading the charge in this by putting up a good bill that's in the interests of workers, that's in the interests of the New Zealand public, and I think we should congratulate him on bringing this bill forward to the House to its third reading and looking forward to it passing through the House today. Because this is good for workers, it's good for New Zealanders, and the Labour Party should be supporting it. The Labour Party says on the other side that workers have freedom of choice, that they're not coerced. Well, I am sure that they have freedom of choice when it comes to political donations and all other things that unions engage in. There is no freedom of choice. The union is there as a mechanism to uphold and represent workers, and that is good in many ways. But it also needs to have a degree of individuality and a degree of anonymity, I guess, in making some of the decisions, so that workers feel that they have the freedom to stand and make the decision that they believe in, rather than the decision that they are told they should believe in. And that is the fundamental difference, I think, between the Labour and the National Party. The National Party lets people believe in things, wants them to believe in things, and gives them the opportunity to show that they believe in things. And on the other side of the equation, you have the Labour Party with their colleagues, the New Zealand First Party, that doesn't want to let people believe in things, that doesn't want to give people freedom of choice, that doesn't want to give people the ability to stand up for their own opinions, but wants to have them coerced, to be represented by one group, and to be led and to be told what they should do. That is the difference in this debating chamber. That is the difference that this bill represents. This is good legislation because it represents the fundamental values that the National Party stands for and the fundamental values that this House should stand for. And this is and what are we getting from the New Zealand First Party? A lot of calling out and bickering over there. I want to see them being constructive in this House and voting for good legislation so that the New Zealand First Party actually represents the views of the public and not the views of the Labour Party. Now, when it comes to the Labour Party, they're very good to tell everybody what they should think. That's right. And they love unions to be able to tell everybody what they should think. That's right. But when it comes to giving people individual rights, the ability to think by themselves, the ability to even act by themselves would be even worse than thinking by themselves, that isn't allowed. And this bill goes to the heart of the problem with the Labour Party and the New Zealand First Party. They don't give people the ability to be the individuals that they need to be. And this bill is good for human beings in this country. It's good for our workers, and I commend it to this House. I just want to pay special credit to the leader of this bill and the person that's brought it forward. Mr. Honourable Tau Henare has a strong background within the union movement. He's a strong background within the political movements of this country, and he has seen a gap that's out there. He's seen an issue that needs to be addressed, and he's dealt with it in this manner through the House. And it is very good to be in a committee that Toh was a member of last year, the Transport Industrial Relations Committee, where we had submissions on this bill, and during that time his work was very constructive in getting this bill to the stage it is today. The Labor Party also had a few members on that committee, and they tried to stop it and to be disruptive to that process, but in the end we found that common sense prevailed and that everybody got the result we needed. So this is the New Zealand First Party that wants it more interesting, is that right? Well, maybe we could sing it for you. Would that make it more interesting? But we look forward to the New Zealand First Party standing up in this front of this house, because I know what they're going to do. They're going to come in here and they're going to say everything that you want to hear, but then they'll vote against it. They'll say, we believe in individual rights, but then they'll still vote for the Labor Party. Now, when it comes to this bill, there was some changes made at Select Committee, and I think those changes have been very important because the Select Committee listened to what suggestions were put forward, and they looked at what the opportunities were to make this bill the best act it could possibly be. And there have been some number of changes, and they go around the requirement for union to hold secret ballot before a strike. There were some changes with the new section 82A to clarify the intent of the bill and set out the process relating to the requirement for a union to hold a secret ballot. And that's important and was one of the things that the Select Committee came to a conclusion on that helps making this bill better. There was a new Clause 8 which was put in regard to having a strike taking place in breach of the proposed new section 82A, and whether that is going to be unlawful or lawful, and the determination of that was an important part of what the Select Committee was working on through that process. And the Select Committee looked at the title of the bill as well, and when we look at an Employment Relations Secret Ballot for Strikes Amendment Act, it's written in a context that is something that doesn't define it as being anti-worker or anything like that the Labor Party may try and portray. This is about giving the ability of workers to have freedom of choice, to express their freedom of choice in a secret manner. And as the promoter of the bill, the Honourable Toh said, it's good enough for us to have elections every 3 years and secret ballots where everybody has that choice, but it's not good enough for union members to have that when they want to vote. And that is very sad that the opposition takes that approach. Two standards, one in regard to what they want to see happen in regard to their own positions, and one in regard to what they want to see happen in regard to ordinary New Zealanders that are working hard to make the best of their endeavours that they are undertaking. And the Labor Party talked about how they wanted to see shareholders make similar decisions. Well, it's not really up to shareholders to make such decisions because there's a fundamental difference in a company between management and governance. And management decisions are made by the management of the company. Whereas in the case of a union, it's a case of the individuals are the ones striking, so the workers are the ones striking, so it's only fair and relevant that they have that ability to vote on it, and that shouldn't be left to their union representative to make that choice for them, because it is fundamental to their workplace and their desire. So that difference between shareholders and companies against unions and union advocates is quite distinct and quite different. And the arguments put forward by the Labor Party that they are the same is just not the case. So we want to have a Board of Directors vote. That's what the Labor Party... This is Phil Twyford that came from. And I just mentioned the difference between management and governance. Well, the Board of Directors and governance, okay? Now, Phil Twyford obviously doesn't understand that. And so it's a management decision, Phil. The Board of Directors isn't the management of a company. The Board of Directors appoints the management, which is the CEO. So it's good that Phil made that comment, because it's always good when Phil makes a comment in this House, because then we can correct him and just let him know how things go. Order. Members should know now, you cannot refer to a member by their
Christian name? Must be the full name.
That was Mr. Phil Twyford. I'm not sure what seat he represents now. He's in this house trying to make comments about governance and management which simply don't stack up. And this bill is good for our workers. I'd like to thank the Honourable Tau Henare for putting it forward. And we look forward to seeing the New Zealand First Party voting with the government this time on this bill.
Speaker.
I call the